Welcome to Community Connections. My name is Pat Bowes and I will be the host today. We have two really interesting and informative guests who will talk about Census 2020. It's a topic that came to our attention in one of the workshops that we attended that was sponsored by the Grunin Foundation, and we really are very interested in getting the word out about the importance of participating in the 2020 census. So today I have two guests, Jeff Beller, New York Regional Director for the New United States Census Bureau, and Jeremy Grunin, President of the J. and Linda Grunin Foundation. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I'm really excited because this really wasn't on my radar screen until you were bringing it up at one of those wonderful capacity programs that you were doing. And the more we started talking about it, I keep hearing the issue about the importance of getting a good count. So maybe we can start with, what is the census?
Yeah, absolutely. When you do something once every 10 years, and a lot of people don't remember about it or think about it. Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution mandates that we conduct a census every 10 years to do enumeration of both households and people. And then that data is used for important things throughout the decade, such as number of seats each state will have in the U.S. House of Representatives. But probably more importantly, we know that there's over $675 billion of federal funding that is disseminated to communities throughout the nation. And if communities don't get counted, if people choose not to fill out the form, it will adversely affect their community for the next 10 years.
And I don't think that people realize that. Do you want to add anything to that?
I mean, listen, New Jersey already is the number one, the least benefited state in the U.S. in terms of dollars that comes back versus dollars that we send to Washington. Wow. And this is our chance to kind of flip the script on that and to get our fair share of dollars back to support programs and to support everything that we need to make New Jersey the greatest state that it is.
I agree, and so I don't think that there's ever been a lot of emphasis on it in regards to when it comes around every 10 years, and especially, and we'll talk a little more about how it affects not-for-profits, which we are one of them. So with that said, just explain a little bit about the process and what's going to be happening, because I think people are afraid in some respects to give information nowadays because of all of the things that are going on.
Absolutely. So we're starting the conversation. We're asking for trusted voices such as yourselves to take that conversation to your communities. And the conversation goes, the census is safe, that it's easy, and that it's important. We just talked briefly about the importance. If I could touch on safety real quick. So every piece of data that we collect is protected under federal law called Title 13. Put in place in the 1954s. It just basically means that any piece of data that we collect, we cannot release to anyone. So local, state, federal law enforcement can never access our data at any time for any reason. Homeland Security and ICE can never access our data at any time for any reason. The Patriot Act does not supersede Title 13. So we've been taken to federal court numerous times over the past 7 decades, and we've won every time. So people need to understand that the data they're providing us cannot be used against them, can never be released to anyone for any reason.
And I think that's important because everyone's a little afraid, especially our minority populations, as far as giving out that information.
Right. And that's the ironic part, because the folks who are in the most need of federal funding are the folks that are the hardest to count. So when you don't get that accurate count, you don't get that federal funding. So I think it's important that folks understand how safe it is, understand that that it's okay for them to raise their hand and be counted, and not only is it okay, but it's important to them and their families that they do so.
Yeah, and so I know that there's a variety of ways for them to get registered or counted. Yep. So maybe you can explain
that's the easy piece of the conversation. So we do say the census is easy in 2020. There's 3 ways to what we call self-response. Self-response is the highest quality data we ever get at the lowest possible cost to the taxpayer. So for the first time ever, you can go online. We're really excited about that. We'll give you a website. You can go online, enter your information, you're done. For the first time ever, you can call your information over the phone. We've always had a toll-free telephone component for support, but this will be the first time that a household can call us and give us their data over the phone. And with both online and over the phone, will be available in English and 12 non-English languages. So we're really excited about that. But if you have a household that they filled it out on paper the last 5 times that they've conducted the census, they want to fill it out on paper again, every household that wants to fill it out on paper will get that opportunity. So those are the 3 ways we're really pushing for self-response, which will begin middle of March of 2020. And then starting in May, mid-May of 2020, we're going to start knocking on the doors of every address in which we have yet to receive that census response. So people have about 2 months or so to self-respond online, over the phone, or on paper, and then we'll start knocking on doors in mid-May.
Okay, and do you send out any reminders once it goes out to the population?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll do a total of 5 mail-outs over around a month and a half time period. In addition, you're going to start seeing commercials and advertisements in news and radio, on TV starting in January, and that'll continue to ramp up till we get to that motivation phase, which will begin in mid-March.
So how does the public avoid scams? I mean, we talked about how you're doing it, so how do I know it's really you?
Yeah, first off is really understand what we ask. Basic questions on the 2020 census. This is a short form only census, the second one that we've done now. We ask for your name, your age and your date of birth, race and ethnicity, whether or not you're of Hispanic origin, whether you own or rent your home, your gender, and your relationship to the first person listed on the form. Mother, father, son, daughter, roommate. That's it. We never ask for social security numbers, we never ask for bank or credit card information, and we never ask for money. In addition, when we do start knocking on doors, all of our employees will have picture IDs. We'll have a fraud line out there that if you're concerned that whether you got something in the mail or someone's knocking on your door and you want to validate that it indeed is the census, call the fraud line. You can get in contact with us, and we'll validate that for you.
And that immigration question is not on.
That's correct.
Is not on the census. So I mean that's an important point, especially here in New Jersey. I mean we have a large undocumented population that utilizes services, and rightfully so. And we need to make sure that those folks get counted, so that because we're supporting those folks. To a large extent,
yes.
Not only with federal funding, but that's really where the nonprofit world gets involved, because it's kind of our jobs in the nonprofit world to pick up where the federal funding leaves off, right? And so clearly, if there's less federal funding, that's more work for the nonprofit community to do, and there's never enough resources.
No, there is never enough. The other question that keeps coming up is, how do you count the people that are hard to find, like homebound seniors or homeless, and other people who might not have a mailing address?
Absolutely. So we have a whole bunch of operations that we conduct on a census. One of those is called our group quarters operation. So group quarters are considered military barracks, college dormitories on campus, nursing homes, and part of that is the service-based enumeration. So over a 3-day period at the end of March, we're going to visit every mobile food van, every soup kitchen, every homeless shelter in every community across the nation. We're going to work with that local administrator to say, over this 3-day period, what's the best day for us to come and count your population? In addition, right now we're working with community-based leaders who support the homeless community. And on the night of March 31st, right now we're creating an exhaustive list of every place where someone who's experiencing homelessness, if they're not staying in a shelter, if they're staying in a tent camp in the forest, if they're beneath an overpass, if they're behind a church, we're creating an exhaustive list, because at midnight on March 31st, Census employees will go out and visit every one of those locations to do a head count for the homeless. It's an extremely important population that we have to make sure gets included in the count.
Yeah, and it's so much more, and there's so many more opportunities than, we talk a lot about homelessness and how hard it is to count the homeless, and we do these homelessness kind of check-ins where we say, you have this day between the hours of 12 and 4, go check in and let everybody know you're homeless, and we expect to get legitimate homeless numbers from that, which we clearly don't get.
We clearly don't.
This is our opportunity to make sure that those folks are also counted, and that we can make sure that they're getting the services they need.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the homebound seniors specifically.
So we have different partners. Let's say, for instance, Meals on Wheels. We're working with those partners. They're talking about, through their funding through their organization or through a private foundation, providing iPads to all the Meals on Wheels drivers. And when they go to visit that homebound person, help them, get access, or provide them the phone number that they can call, explain. They are a trusted voice to that group, to those individuals. So we're providing them with the information, hopefully them with the resources that they'll be able to then help us ensure they get counted.
Right, and I, as the chairman of the board for Fulfill, the food bank of Monmouth and Ocean County, we have a beach center in Toms River where it's not only is it the Bon Jovi Soul Kitchen, it's also the People's Pantry, which is a food pantry, and it's the food bank, but also there's a resource room there. And we'll be using that resource room for folks that come in there to get
awesome.
food, that they'll be able to make sure that they're getting counted as well.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of traffic there on
Totally.
a regular basis.
Yes, unfortunately there is.
Yes, unfortunately. And again, in Ocean County, I think it's the second largest senior population in the country.
Yeah,
And
behind Dade County.
Yep, in Florida.
Wow.
And so, and again, I think there's 92 adult communities in Ocean. So it's
You think there are, Pat?
I think. So I think that, that's a challenge in some respects, especially, I know that if you get one person to do it, word of mouth is the best marketing opportunity that we have found. And so once someone gets in and it's comfortable with it, I'm sure that the other doors are open. But I do think that people need to understand how it really affects the big picture, not just that you need this count, but how it affects everything from, again, our representation to our funding. And, we're always looking for more, and it's really not there. I think not-for-profits do fairly good business with less than more in regards to delivering services.
And you mentioned representation, and people don't necessarily connect that dot, which is, we talk about funding, okay, that people can understand. I think that's something that's tangible from a dollar standpoint. But if we lose a U.S. Congressperson, right, that's one less person that's fighting for New Jersey and for us to get what we deserve and what we need, and that's important as well.
Yeah,
we're not.
And I don't think that's ever highlighted.
No, it's not as much. But everything, I think people need to understand that there's a there's a domino effect that happens when you don't fill out your census, when we don't get this right, and we don't get another shot at it for 10 years.
Yeah. And so I know that there's going to be a movement among the not-for-profits, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I think that there's also employment opportunities for people coming down the pike.
Absolutely. We're going to have hundreds of thousands of jobs. So right now in the state of New Jersey, we're paying anywhere from $17.50 per hour to $22 per hour. And the great thing about these jobs, that really, it's a gig job. They're all short-term, temporary positions. They last anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks, depending on the operation that they're running. And the cool thing is, you choose your own schedule. Right. You choose the hours you can work, and we're going to give you work to match that. So we're telling people, if you have a full-time job and you want to make a little extra money, maybe to pay off the holiday bills, or you got a vacation coming this summer, and you want to earn some extra cash for that, come work for the census.
Yeah, and we have a lot of seniors, or we call them seasoned adults. We don't call them seniors, but we have a lot of people who would like some part-time work. So it's a really good piece for them that we would market onto them too, as far as short-term.
Right.
And to raise some additional money. So we're going to be taking a break in about 10 seconds, and we'll be back shortly. So I really want to, again, thank you for participating or tuning in and hearing from our two esteemed guests here, and we'll be right back.
At the Save Green Project from New Jersey Natural Gas, we're bringing you rebates and incentives, including 0% APR financing, right on your natural gas bill to help make energy efficiency affordable. And with the possibility of no upfront costs and special incentives for moderate income customers, investing in equipment upgrades doesn't have to be out of reach. Go to SaveGreenProject.com for details on available rebates and incentives to help you upgrade to energy-efficient HVAC and water heating equipment. You could also be eligible for thousands of dollars in incentives for seal-up and insulation fixes. In the long run, you could be saving money on your energy bills too. Visit us at SaveGreenProject.com. That's SaveGreenProject.com.
Welcome back. I have the pleasure of being with two distinguished gentlemen talking about Census 2020. Jeff Baylor from New York, Regional Director of the United States Census Bureau, and Jeremy Grunin, President of the Jay and Linda Grunin Foundation. And so we need some more information about the players that you're working with so that we can become affiliated with them better.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple different resources. First off, our website, 2020census.gov. All the promotion materials are on there. So we have one-pagers on the different options, the way to fill out your form. We have one-pagers on how safe it is and the confidentiality, talking about Title 13. We have audience-based promotion materials, maybe focus on the LGBTQ plus audience, the African American, Hispanic, migrant workers. You know, all the different challenges that we have specific messaging for that. And that's the great thing about our partnership program. So we have about 50 partnership specialists throughout the state of New Jersey that work directly with our partners. A partner could be a church, it could be a community foundation, it could be a YMCA, it could be an elected official. Whoever wants to be a partner, we're open arms. We have to work together because those partners are really the trusted voices for the communities in which they serve. At the end of the day, we'll go anywhere to talk about the census, but I certainly know it means a lot more when it's coming from both of you because there's people who trust you and come to you for validation. So that's our job right now, is educating these local leaders and trusted voices so that they can have the conversation and get the message out there. And then we have all the tools that are available at 2020census.gov. We have complete count committees. We're really excited. This is the first time ever New Jersey has a statewide complete count commission.
What does that mean?
Complete count committee or commission with illegal amendments and things like that. Basically, it's a group of individuals who understand the challenges for whatever geography they cover. It could be statewide, it can be a congressional district, it could be a city, it could be a neighborhood or a building. And they understand what the challenges are in obtaining and completing an accurate count in that particular geography. And they work with the census on what's the right message, who's the right messenger, how do we get that message to the people? Is it a local, a 15-second in-language PSA on a local radio station? Is it this certain newspaper? They're helping us recruit individuals, making it easy for their community members to apply for jobs.
So is this the first time that you're using all of these new tools?
The internet has provided the opportunity to do a lot more than what we've had. We've always had promotion materials in the past. We've always had a partnership program. It's never been as this big, and we're really excited. And I can tell you our partners have never been as loud and out there as they have. We talked earlier about the citizenship question not being on the 2020 census. When that debate came and when the Supreme Court was hearing that issue, our partners came out, and I don't ever remember, this is my third census, our partners being so engaged that early in a census cycle. And they've just continued that momentum all the way through. At the end of the day, it's our partners, the trusted voices, that will make this census a success.
Great.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll be one of those. And then the other piece here is really the importance, we've been talking about it again throughout the whole show, is the role of the not-for-profits, and I don't think that a lot of them get it.
Yeah, this is not an expensive issue to drive. I mean, certainly from a government standpoint it is, and I think, frankly, on a side note, we underfund the effort in general, but that's a separate issue for a different show. What I think is important is the consistency of the message, the loudness of the message, and that everybody is giving the message. So if I look at it, for example, from a foundation standpoint, we invited folks from Kiki Jamison's group, the Fund for New Jersey, to come and speak at one of our capacity building seminars where you heard about it. And then look what happened. You're like, wait, census, we really got to pay attention. And next thing you know, here we are talking about it, right? That only happens when you continue to drive it into people's minds. So that's what we can do from a foundation standpoint, is make sure that our partners have all the resources that they need to be able to effectively drive the messaging. And then it's really about those partners making it a priority. And again, I think it's very easy for a nonprofit to get kind of laser focused on what's important to them, right? Whether it's you know, what do you call the folks that are seasoned? Whether it's seasoned folks or less seasoned folks, whether it's kids, whether it's animals, whatever it may be, we get so laser focused on that, and when asked to deviate, sometimes it becomes difficult. But this is not an issue that affects any one group. It affects every group, right? So this is something that when everybody is talking about it, when everybody's saying it, after a while, it becomes infectious and it becomes something that's just important. And I got to say, frankly, with all the technology, right, and the fact that there are so many different ways to be counted, that's actually a bigger threat to us here in New Jersey, to me, because other areas where they have, you know, where they're more remote, those folks are going to have no problem getting counted now, right? And they have no reason not to. If we have populations that are afraid to be counted for whatever reason, doesn't matter how much technology we give them, they're not going to want to be counted, right? And that's where the real threat is, that we could fall even farther behind where we are today because of all the added conveniences but people are going to, if people go out of their way not to be counted.
Got it. Well, we're going to hope that we're going to work towards that not happening.
Heck yeah.
But I do know the other issue that I really want is that this is not a whole year process for a not-for-profit. I mean, if we choose to participate, it would be a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And when does it start and when does it end in regards to the collection?
Yes, and the support can really vary over the next year. So as far as from a census perspective, right now is the education phase. So partners can be that trusted voice. They can start that conversation now, letting people know, hey, the census is coming next March. Did you know it's safe to fill out, how easy it's going to be, and why it's so important? And then when that March comes around, we have partners like libraries and community colleges, YMCAs, who are opening their doors, providing resources if someone wants to come in a safe location and fill out their census response at a library where they feel safe, where the trusted voices all around them. And then when it comes time to knock on the door, we need help in getting into certain communities. We're going to need help in getting into some locked communities or communities that typically may not want to let federal employees in. We're going to need help from that trusted voice to help us get in there to ensure everyone gets counted. We're really excited. One of our initiatives is we have a whole recruiting staff, and our recruiting ends in roughly March of 2020. Every recruiter has an iPad. We've received funding now that we're going to be able to keep them on board and take resources to the community. So we're going to be working with partners such as yourselves. And if you say, Jeff, you know what, we have a big event, a big farmers market on this Saturday in this really hard to count community, could you bring some of your iPads and your staff to help people fill out their form right then and there? That's the great thing about this technology, is we can take the census to the people rather than saying, hey, come to this place or go here, which we still want to do because there are trusted places throughout our communities, but we can also take it to them.
So when's the deadline for applications to be in or information to be submitted?
So the census will start mid-March. That's when you can go online. That's when you can call the toll-free telephone numbers. When you receive your paper form, you can fill it out, mail it back in. That will continue through the end of July, and that's roughly the same time we're going to stop knocking on doors. So when you think about the counting period, whatever way you get counted, online, over the phone, on paper, or via a personal visit from one of our enumerators, it'll be mid-March of 2020 through the end of July 2020.
Can I ask a question? If an enumerator, that's not an easy word, my goodness. If an enumerator comes to your door because you haven't been counted, and you refuse to be counted, what happens?
Yeah, so at the end of the census, we're probably going to make a few visits and a few different people. But at the end of the census, what we do is we'll go to a process where we'll try to find a knowledgeable source. Is there a neighbor who can tell us at least how many people live in that particular unit? And then after that, if we're still unable to get information, we do a statistical, which is not something we want to do, but it's called imputation, looking at data around the community to try to determine what does that household particularly look like. But the amount of times we're going to be contacting people, we hope we never get there. We hope we don't even get to the point where we have to knock on the door. We hope people self-respond in 2020.
Yeah, enumerator and imputation, my
That's
goodness.
right.
Good for you, Jeff.
So, but again, if people would like to get more information about this, where would they find that?
2020census.gov. They can find all our contact information. They can reach out to us directly. We'll put them in touch with their local partnership specialists. We have a partnership specialist covering every county in New Jersey, multiple partnership specialists covering every county. They can come in, they can do a presentation, they can host a table if you already have an event going on. We're trying to tell partners, we certainly understand resources are tight for a lot of people. So is there something you're already doing that we can embed this in? You maybe have a community event. Could we sit at a table and hand out information about the census?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of lunch and learns both in Monmouth and
Yeah.
Ocean, and we get, about 100 people a clip. So, I mean, that's something that we can actually do without even thinking about it. I mean, I just think that there's so much that not-for-profits can do if they just gave it some time to think it through.
And you talk about meals, Meals on Wheels, but then the food bank does mobile pantries. There's you have caregiver volunteers, which has 1,200 volunteers in Monmouth and Ocean County that are working with 2,000 seniors who otherwise wouldn't have anybody to help them. Those folks could be helping, should be helping with the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has to figure out where their niche is, that they can help, so that Jeff has to do less imputation at the end.
That's right.
But again, I think the piece that we didn't talk about is having presentations done, or you having staff available to make those presentations. So that's another important piece. How would someone get in touch with you in regards to that?
Again, you can visit our website, 2020census.gov. You'll see the link for the New York regional office. We have an email for our partnership program. We also have a direct line. You can just give us a call if you prefer, and we'll get you set up with your local partnership specialist.
Okay, so we have about 2 minutes left. Anything else that you would like to add to the conversation?
Yeah, when we talk about an undercount, and there's so many populations that are undercounted, as mentioned, are minority populations, children around the age of 5. I had a community board president who explained it this way. Think of a school of 100 kids, and let's say in 2020 only 80 of those kids get counted. All right, for the next 10 years, as Jeremy mentioned earlier, we get one shot every 10 years. For the next 10 years, that school is going to receive 80% of the funding it deserves. Think about all the programs that could touch the kids in that school, from National School Lunch Program, or Breakfast Program, or Head Start, or healthcare. All those important community programs that are funded via the federal government will be negatively impacted for the next 10 years. And it doesn't just affect those 20 kids who weren't counted, it affects all 100. And you just map that on your community, whatever the reason, whether it's Medicaid or infrastructure or planning for the future or healthcare. A census is so important. We have to make sure everyone gets counted.
Yeah, and I take the very macro angle, which is, again, New Jersey continues to lag behind relative to the dollars that we get. Not only do we lag behind there, but you'd have to be living under a rock not to be talking about not to be hearing about school funding now, right? And less school funding available for our kids. We have no one to blame but ourselves if we don't get counted accurately, right? And so this is our chance to do it, and we gotta go do it.
Okay. Well, I want to thank both of you. I mean, this has been a really informative program, and again, we're hoping to run it more than once and give it out to our partners, because we'll be able to send it out electronically for other people to see.
Great.
So thank you for tuning in. We're at SCAN, which is located in the Monmouth Mall. Please come and visit us and enjoy the opportunities that we have available. And again, thanks.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.